Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, Tony Walker.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do. Them that have it, get more of it. The less they need it, the more they love it. And it sticks to them like glue. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.
Back in the days of the wild, wild west, when someone was running from the law sent after them someone called a bounty hunter. Now, the bounty hunter's job was to patiently but diligently track down the villain until he or she was found, and then, dead or alive, bring that villain back to justice so the bounty hunter could collect a nice cash reward. Today, while you may not be running from the law, assuming you have money stored away for retirement, there are two very patient and very diligent bounty hunters out there that are chasing after your money, and believe me, eventually they're going to overtake you. Like Steve McQueen in the movie Wanted Dead or Alive, these bounty hunters are patient, diligent, and again, they're going to catch up to you. And what are these two bounty hunters? Taxes and time. Well, welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement. I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And with us in the Louisville studios as we record this show on September 10th, 2019, is the producer of our show, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. Good morning, Aaron.
Hey, good morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Another long day yesterday. Saw a lot of clients and prospective clients. Of course, we're planning for our big client appreciation event up here in Louisville, so we're really busy with a lot of things. So it just makes me realize how thankful I am that we have such a large clientele. I always kid around, Aaron, people are willing to buy people, complete strangers, buy them dinner at these dinner seminars, and we kind of take the opposite approach. We would rather buy dinner for our clients who have actually done business with us. So we're looking forward to that. And then you've got over there your faithful sidekick,
That's right.
Technical director, Megan Murphy. She's over there hard at it. She's already planning for the TV show as well. So folks, again, let me reiterate, we have a television show, in case you haven't seen that, called The Worry-Free Retirement. Got a brand new website if you want to check out the TV show times at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. In case you're just joining us, we're in the fourth part of our series, Wanted Dead or Alive, and this one's on your retirement. We're covering the aspect of two bounty hunters chasing around after you, and quite frankly, they're not as good looking as Steve McQueen. This is taxes and time. So here's what I've learned, Aaron. And again, I've looked back over time. I've worked with literally, we can document this, I've met in person with close to 15,000 savers. Okay, this is documented. This is not something I made up on the way over here this morning.
And that's just savers. You've also met with people that weren't savers.
That's right.
So that's not 15,000 total. That's just 15,000 savers.
That is a real good point. In fact, if you go back in time, I just celebrated my 35th year in this business. Years ago when I managed money in the 90s, really I was working with anybody and everybody, investors. So yeah, you're right. That's a really good point. I don't know how many. That's well over 15,000, but here's what I've learned. Here's the funny thing about money. Okay, think about this, and folks, as you're listening to this, think about it. You work hard all your life to earn money. Then along the way, you spend a little bit of it, but many of you are afraid to spend it, or maybe sometimes you spend too much, but we'll assume you're a saver and you don't spend a lot. Then you're willing to give up control of this money by handing it over to the financial world, whether it's investments, 401ks, whatever, but you're basically giving up control of your money. Along the way, the other party that comes into the fray is the government, and they collect all kinds of taxes on it. You've got federal taxes, state taxes, local taxes, FICA taxes, property taxes, on and on and on. And then the rules of the game go something like this. Around 65, you're supposed to stop working, and you're supposed to know how to turn this money that you've been saving into an income that not only you can enjoy, basically it's supposed to replace the paychecks, right? That you stopped earning paychecks, right, Aaron? One day you retire, you're not going to get a paycheck anymore. You got to figure out how to make the money you've been saving.
You're not going to pay me after
I don't know. As good a job as you do, don't tell Megan. I've been thinking about this a lot. But yeah, so one day you retire, you want the fruits of your labor to bear out, but you got to have a paycheck and you're not working anymore. So how do you do that? How do you spend and enjoy your money without the fear of running out? And that's the dilemma. Savers, here's what I found. The reason most of you are so worried about retiring, even if you're already retired, I know many of you still worry about running out of money. You're not sure where to take money from. You really don't understand taxes and fees. The reason most of you are worried, drum roll please, no written game plan from a well-trained, experienced, let me say this again because there's all kinds of people now offering retirement advice, radio, TV, internet. It seems like everybody overnight's an expert. From a well-trained, seasoned retirement specialist who, again, has met in person with over 15,000 savers. So again, let me repeat this. A retirement planning specialist, what the job of a retirement planning specialist is to make sure that you use and enjoy and protect your money so that you don't run out of it. The problem is money becomes stagnant. This is going to sound contrary if you don't actually use and enjoy it. You ever thought about this, Aaron? Let me relate it to 3 different examples I'm going to give you. Okay, let's take a car. Now, quite frankly, when I ride up and down I-65 all the time, I don't mean to notice cars in rural areas, but have you ever looked over off the road, and it's usually 100 yards off the road, you can see it. There's an area I can't help but look every time I ride up and down I-65. I bet there's 10 cars parked outside of this old house. And all these cars are sitting there. Some of them are literally up on concrete blocks. And I'm sure these cars rolled off the assembly line at some point. They were brand spanking new.
That's right.
Looked great. Guess what's wrong with them now? What's happened to them?
They're probably covered in like rust and stuff like that.
Bingo. They look awful.
Windows busted out,
And you would think, though, if they just sat there, they haven't been out driving, nobody's been banging into them, so why would they be rusted? The problem is they're not moving. They're not being taken care of. Again, I'm going somewhere with your money, folks. Hang on there. Okay. Second example I wanted to think about. So again, cars need to be protected. They need to be used. They need to be driven. They even say really, really nice cars in these nice garages people park in. I mean, they got to get them out and drive them something. You just can't let it sit there. So we all know that. The car has to stay in motion and be taken care of. All right. Second thing that kind of needs to stay in motion, let's take a pond. A lot of times when you see a subdivision or a country club or a new area developed, they'll put a pond in. Now, what do you always notice in that pond? What's usually in the middle of that pond?
Like in a nice subdivision,
yeah.
they're usually like a, not like a waterfall, but like a fountain or something.
Big
like
fountain.
That. Yeah.
Now, why would they do that? Is that really for looks? What's that really for?
Well, one thing that's doing is that's churning up the water. That's keeping like the algae and all that
Bingo.
stuff from settling.
Very good, Aaron. So 2 for 2. So it's interesting in the environment of water, if it's going to stand still, it's going to get murky. It's got to keep moving. Now, the third thing I'll mention, in Kentucky, I know we got a lot of farmers. I've never been that good at gardens. A buddy of mine, I'll call him Mike. Mike has a big garden. He's always been a gardener. He's really good at it. I went over to his house, me and my wife Susan, to visit he and his wife, and hadn't seen him in a while, and he took me out to show me his garden. It is amazing how he knows how to raise all these. But I didn't notice any vines with old vegetables hanging off and I said, Mike, when do you know when to pick this? He says, well, you have to pick it, Tony. If you just leave it on the vine, it's going to rot. So again, even food has to be used. So folks, what we're getting ready to discover today is many of you are actually waiting too long to enjoy your money. And just like an old car sitting in a field, just like water that isn't moving, just like vegetables hanging off a vine that need to be eating, your money could be rusting away. Stay tuned. We're continuing our 4th series in Wanted Dead or Alive, Your Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a buyout? Has the company you work for recently moved or been acquired or closed its doors forever? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k to safer territory. Why continue to risk your hard-earned money when you don't have to? Let's meet in person today to discuss your retirement options. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your no-obligation appointment to meet with me in person. Do it today.
And now it's time for Tony in the Trenches.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement, and our Tony in the Trenches kind of deals with this whole idea we're talking about your retirement, wanted dead or alive. And this comes from Rick up in Louisville, and Rick asked the following question. Tony, I keep hearing you talking about using and enjoying your money. I'm 62 years of age. I'm trying to figure out whether I should delay Social Security or take it now. Basically, he goes on to say he's got a nice little 401k. He wants to retire. Here's what I would say to that type of question. We get this a lot, and it's a really good question. Regarding Social Security and when to draw it, there is no right or wrong answer there. A lot of people do all these mathematical calculations. I mean, we've got all that software. We can do that too, but what I've found is it's really an issue of the taxation and what you need to do there. So what I would say to that, if you're sitting out there and you're like Rick, basically you're thinking, okay, I want to retire. I'm not sure when to draw Social Security, and I've got a 401k. When do I draw on that? That's really what we specialize in, folks, trying to help people make good decisions, rational decisions on how to maximize the money they've got. As you'll see in a minute, if you stay tuned, we're going to talk about a recent bill passed in Congress and taxes and what I think will happen to taxes. But the best thing to do is just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Hit on that Let's Get Started button, and what happens is that confidentially goes to our offices, and then we will set up a time either by phone or in person for you and I to talk. And the best thing to do is just look at your specific situation. We can do that. To date, I've overseen a total of 4,000 game plans, but again, the key is you have to have a game plan before you can make such a decision as to when to take Social Security. All right, really good question there. All right, we were talking about the hit show Wanted Dead or Alive with Steve McQueen back in the late 50s, early 60s. Now let's talk about a movie. Actually, Aaron, this is my wife's favorite movie. She thinks this is a love story. I think it's about bounty hunters. Can we tell you the name of this movie?
I can't even. You see it as a bounty hunter. She sees it as romantic. Oh my gosh, I can't even guess.
Okay, Titanic. With Leonardo DiCaprio.
Were there bounty hunters running around on the Titanic?
Okay, let's think about this. So in the movie Titanic, it's really all about them. They tell the story of the young lady and she meets the man, but really the people on this other fancy schmancy ship with all this equipment, they're searching for what on the Titanic?
Right. In the present day, they are looking for, oh my gosh, it's a necklace. It's,
I can't remember what type
Megan,
of stone.
do you know what it's called?
Megan?
It's called the
Heart.
Ooh.
The Heart of the Sea. I can't even repeat
Listen
how she
to
said
Miss
it in
French woman over there.
I can't even repeat that.
Okay.
Heart of the Sea.
Okay, but apparently they think it's worth $1 cajillion. So, all right, here's the point on this. So they're hunting for the treasure. It apparently is locked up in the safe. Of course, we've already seen the movie. They hadn't seen the past because we got to see the movie.
Right.
Yeah, right. Okay. Being kind of silly here, but we know it's not in there. So they finally get the safe up. They crack it open on the ship. All the guys are excited. All this gunk falls out of it, muddy, old papers, and what's it called again, Megan? What's the translation?
Le Coeur de la Mer.
Le Coeur de la Mer
is not in there. So think about this. So they're the bounty hunters. They're trying to find it. They miss out. The government and the financial institutions, folks, will have it a lot easier than those guys. Here's the thing. If you have an IRA, 401k, 403b, thrift savings account, lump sum pension, buried within that thing, listen to me, is a tax tumor. And taxes and time will actually eat away at that, just like whatever was in that safe came out gunky. I mean, for several decades, that safe was at the bottom of the sea, and it didn't hold up too well. What was in there, the contents were eaten away. Now, the fancy schmancy necklace never made it in there. That's why it wasn't there. But so here's the thing. You have got your money locked away in these retirement accounts, and you're not using it. So my fear is, I'm afraid that you're stockpiling all this money, and again, the taxes and time are going to eat it away. The financial world doesn't want you to spend it, so they tell you and put fear in you that if you don't, you got to save it, Aaron, because down the road you might need it. Now that sounds logical at first, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds logical.
Yeah.
We're going to see that. We're going to see in a minute. Sometimes that doesn't work out well. Then the government says they're in no hurry. Yeah, go on and defer it. In fact, you don't even have to take it out until age 70 and a half. That's their magic age. So you could, theoretically, it's called pre-tax, tax deferred. You could let this money just build and build and grow without taxes up to age 70 and a half. That sounds logical, right? Let
Right,
it
you
grow.
sound like you're just getting more money.
Yeah. So the financial world doesn't remind you that they don't want you taking and spending that money because they're making money on your money. The government could care less when you take it because they know when you take it out, they're going to get their taxes. So eventually they're going to get their money. So the question is, and we're going to talk about inflation too, but the question is, when are you going to enjoy it then? And what happens is, it's just like a car parked in a field. It's just like water in a pond that's not moving. It's just like vegetables hanging on a vine. Over time, folks, listen to this. I've learned this over the years. Take my word for it. Over time, your money will rust away if you don't use it. Taxes and time will drill it. Now, this may sound odd, but let's think about this. Since the government doesn't need it right now, taxes are at an all-time low. This is why I think the government actually doesn't want to tax it right now, Aaron. Many of you folks are not taking advantage of the fact that taxes are the lowest they've been in my 35 years in this business, bar none. That means you have the option, if you're retired or over the age of 59 and a half, you have the option to take that money or some of that money and elect to take taxes out now at the lowest rates they've ever been. Now, you might say, well, Tony, what will taxes do in the future? I don't know, but I think with over $22 trillion in debt and growing, my suspicion is, and a lot of other experts believe this too, that taxes will actually go up in the future. So think about this. Time, that's the effect of inflation. That's eating away at it. You're not using the money. Fees charged by everybody else to use your money, that's eating away at it. They get the present value of all that money. And then finally, whenever you retire, if you wait to draw it out too long, the taxes may even be higher. So recently the House passed this bill, they call it the Secure Act, and they've sent it to the Senate. Now the Senate has not voted on this, but they extended or expanded the years or age from 70 and a half to 72. Now why might they do that, Aaron?
So they can hang on to your money longer.
So it can continue to grow. Again, hang with me, folks. The government doesn't need this money now. They're blowing and going and spending money like crazy. And they know, I think the politicians know, oops, we got some low tax rates out there. Why don't we kind of induce people to not take them? Just tell them to just wait till 72. So that's one reason. The second thing that slipped into this bill that's pretty scary, to me, is the big issue. Up until now, if they vote this into law, it's going to be a problem. But up until now, if you die with a 401k or IRA, no matter your age, you can leave it to your children. And they can do something called a stretch IRA, meaning they can stretch that money out over their lifetime so they don't have to take the tax hit all at once. Does this make sense, Aaron?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, in this bill, they're saying, no, what we're going to do, we've slipped this in there. At your death, your kids are going to have to take this money out over a 10-year period. That's a lot of money. There's estimated to be $28 trillion that has not been taxed yet, folks, sitting in all these retirement accounts. So think about this. People are getting older. They're going to start dying. Then the kids are going to inherit it. And then by that time in 2026, when the current laws expire, potentially, I think they'll go up. If taxes go up and all these kids have to now start taking out these inherited IRAs, they're going to be at higher brackets. You following where I'm going with this?
Okay.
So more revenue. And again, folks, it's just like that idea of a car sitting out there. What you have to do is you got to get that car, that 401k, you got to get it out of that field and drive it and use it. Now you might say, well, Tony, there's all kinds of stuff about inflation. What about inflation, Hoss? Isn't that going to, I got to have money in the future. Well, that's true. But something we have discovered years ago, I found this out as I watched my clients age. This was something most people had never thought of. This was 15 plus years ago when I wrote the book, The Worry-Free Retirement, is that as people get older, just saw this the other day, I had an 80-year-old in the office. She said, Tony, I'm not even spending the mailbox money you're sending me. I don't need all this money. Folks, unless you had a healthcare catastrophe, forget what the financial world's telling you about inflation. Yeah, it's real, but your spending goes down. It doesn't matter what inflation is. With interest rates low, inflation is still fairly low, but forget inflation, it doesn't matter. That is just something there to scare you so you won't spend your money. So here's the point, and we're going to come back with an example of this 80-year-old. It's really interesting, but here's the point. The longer you leave money alone and not use it, at some point, it's called the law of diminishing returns, it gets worse, not better. Now, it'll be better for everybody else. When you do worse, they'll do better. It doesn't matter. When you do better, they do better. When you do worse, they still do better. So here's what we've got to do. We've got to sit down, come up with a game plan, realistic, on how we can use and enjoy the money, and not run out of it. That's what we do at Tony Walker Financial. That sounds like something you'd like to sit down and do before it's too late, to take advantage of time. You've got time on your side now. You've got today. You can today sit there and say, you know what, I'm going to get more control of my money. This is ridiculous. I didn't realize all these factors were chasing after my money, and the bounty hunter of taxes and time was so relevant to me. So just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. All you got to do to get started is there's a Let's Get Started button. Just click on that. Our offices will call you. Of course, we can meet with you in either our Bowling Green, Lexington, or Louisville offices. It's no problem. Or if you want to talk with me by phone in person just to get a feel for how we would approach this, a little bit about your situation. Again, there's never a cost or obligation to do that. So log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. When we come back, I'm going to talk about something called a retirement calculator and how these things are really goofy. And then also this example of one of my clients who is getting ready to turn 80, and a meeting I had with her and her daughter, and the daughter's mother-in-law who recently passed away at roughly the same age. One did the traditional planning with all the fancy trust documents and all the bells and whistles were done, and what a mess that's been. The other worked with our process, the philosophy of spend and enjoy, and how much easier this is going to be to pass these assets along to her family when she dies. You're listening to The Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back.
Tired of the financial world chasing after your money? Dinner seminar invitations? Annoying pop-up ads on your computer from out-of-state advisors? It all adds up to confusion. There is a better way. Meet in person with nationally recognized retirement specialist Tony Walker. Tony's personal one-on-one approach has helped thousands of savers worry less about money, and best of all, Tony's right in our own backyard. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Make the short drive to meet in person with Tony now. To get started, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Tired of the roller coaster ride of the stock market? Let Tony Walker show you how to smooth out the ride with your money. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. We're in our fourth series of Wanted Dead or Alive. By the way, folks, you can listen to prior episodes of the radio show, The Worry-Free Retirement, on our podcast. You just go to the podcast channel's on the website, isn't it, Aaron? You can
I believe so, but if they can't find it on there, they can go to SoundCloud.com. SoundCloud.com. But yes, there should be a link on the website that they can click on. Yes.
And then back to the TV show, we have the schedule of all the TV shows. We're on in 7 TV shows, TV networks throughout the state of Kentucky. To find the best listing and time near you, or to watch past episodes of the TV show, you can go to youtube.com and just type in Tony Walker Financial, and all the educational television shows will pop up there. So it's a great opportunity to go back and listen to shows or watch shows to get further educated. All right, so our topic, regardless of whether you're dead or alive, are these bounty hunters, the two we're talking about today, taxes and time, and how eventually, just like the bounty hunters of old, you can run but you can't hide. They will catch up to you. Oh, speaking of death, I've got to share this. So a lot of people, this is the philosophy I live by, Aaron, that I really think you have to strike a balance between using and enjoying your money now and obviously saving some for the future. I mean, don't you think that? But the idea of just stockpiling and saving, it's crazy. Okay, this is the Bowling Green Daily News. I won't give the date because I don't want people to go back and see these obituaries. I'm not trying to be morbid, nor do I want to make light of people's deaths. But to my point, isn't it interesting that the government doesn't even require people to take out money until age 70? And you know how many people I run into, Aaron, that don't do that? They don't. So they think it's a good thing. It's like, oh, I don't have to pay any taxes. And I'm like, well, you're going to eventually pay them.
You will eventually,
yeah. But they think they're getting a good deal, and they even think this is better because the government's forestalling it to 72. Folks, that's think of the stagnant pond. That's all you're doing. But here's the other side of this. What if you don't make it to 70? So I just grabbed a random obituary section in our local daily news. There was a total of 8 obituaries listed. You with me so far? Okay. And again, I'm not going to name names or the date because I certainly don't want to make light of any of this. But here's the facts. First person, age 60. Second person listed, 59. Third, 67. The fourth, 76. Fifth, 55. Sixth, 77. Seventh, 88. And 8th, 78. So let's analyze this. Out of those 4 deaths, half of them, 4 of them, out of those 8 deaths, 4 of them were under the age of 70. So they never, in this example,
never made it to that point.
Yeah, if they'd waited to use the money, boy, they'd never used it. Now, they would say, well, how much money did you die with? How much did you leave? I'd say, well, they left it all. They didn't get any of it. Now, and 3 of them were 60 years of age or younger. Did you notice that?
Okay.
So, folks, here's the facts. You don't know how long you're going to live, so you have to have a game plan that includes both the possibility of death, so we want to use and enjoy our money while we can, and the possibility that you could live a long, long time. That's why we sell mailbox money. We call it sleep insurance. This is why the annuities on the back end of the planning are so important, and this is why we developed the worry-free split IRA concept. Let me explain how this works, because this is pretty cool stuff. Again, a lot of people think, well, that Walker guy, I heard this the other day here, and somebody came in, they said, well, we're getting second opinions on things. We're kicking the tires. I said, that's great. And they looked at me and they said, well, we went down the street and we'd mentioned your name to somebody else. And they said, oh, yeah, that Walker guy, all he does is annuities. And I'm thinking, well, that's not even true. By the way, all you financial advisors out there, I promise I won't speak for you personally if you don't speak for me. Now, generally, I'll throw people in a global network of advisors, but I never mention advisors by name. If somebody comes to me and brings up another advisor, you know what I say? I say, well, I don't know. I can't really comment on what they do. Now, what I will say, if they've been to another advisor, I'll say, did they give you a written game plan? Guess what most people say?
Most people, if not everybody, probably says, well, no, they sure didn't.
They sure didn't. No, I didn't get. In fact, a lot of them will say, well, I asked for something, but they said I had to sign over paperwork before they'd give me anything. And I'm thinking,
they were going to come to my house and, yeah,
folks,
we talked about that.
Come on now. If anybody asks you to sign information to disclose and get that information without even giving you a written game plan, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. That's the red flag. I would be hightailing it out of there. I wouldn't trust anybody in that situation. Now, in some cases, we do ask that a financial planning agreement be signed. That's something the government requires of us as a fiduciary. We can have you sign that when you get the written game plan. We're not going to make you sign it right up front, but we do need that on file. But yeah, don't be coerced into signing or turning over things in order to do a review. Now, a retirement planning specialist is going to need to see your stuff, but there should be no obligation, no fee, no nothing just to review your information unless they disclose that there's going to be fees, and then of course it's perfectly ethical. So the split IRA, why has this thing taken off? Why do we have so much money now under management with Charles Schwab after starting this program just 2 years ago? Why are we able to provide so many fixed and fixed indexed annuities to savers since 9/11, over 350 million? Because number one, the split IRA concept gives you the flexibility to use and enjoy your money during what I call halftime, and then provides on the back end during the second half of life the guaranteed income you can never outlive. I call it mailbox money. We also have a huge staff of well-qualified service experts that are dedicated to specific areas to help you. Unlike a lot of financial advisors who really don't have a staff, they mainly are just out, gathering assets and selling things. We want to make sure that when you do purchase products from us or invest money with us, that we are here to help with all of the different planning needs that are going to come your way. So I tell you what, we're almost out of time. I think I'm going to, next week, Aaron, we're getting into 401ks. It's going to be Wanted Dead or Alive, our 5th series of 401ks. Remind me next week, I've got to do this comparison. In fact, I think it's going to take probably a whole segment. A comparison between one of our clients at age 80 and how much she's enjoying her money and how easily we're going to leave this money at her death versus another same situation, 80-year-old widow who went and got all this involved planning done and how much of a mess it's been since she's passed away. Good stuff. In the meantime, don't forget, if you'd like to meet with me in person, you have any questions, financial needs, retiring soon, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on that Let's Get Started button. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. We've enjoyed being with you. You remember, between now and next week, though, if all else fails, you be worry-free.
If you got it, you don't need it. If you need it, you don't got it. You don't get it, shame on you. Funny, funny, funny what money can do.